There they are. What's going on, guys? Vital Brad here. And welcome back to another episode of It's Feeding Time. This is a series where I've been teaching a strategy that helped me lose over 50 pounds and overcome my addiction, specifically with food and sugar and carbs, and just regain that control over my body and my carnal desires. In the last two episodes, episode 2, we talked about phase 1, which is what to eat, specifically the keto diet, eliminating carbs and sugar, getting fat adapted, running off of ketones. In episode 3, phase 2, we talked about our eating window, intermittent fasting, basically eating all of your food within a shorter period of time. You only eat in that window. Outside of that window, you're fasting, called intermittent fasting. And I was down at a point where I was doing what's called OMAD, 1 meal a day. I would eat all of my calories, usually 2,000 calories, under 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'd have all my calories for the day. It would be feeding time. I'd clean up my kitchen, and I wouldn't worry about food the rest of the day. Now, in this episode, phase 3, we're going to be talking about how much to eat. If you ain't tracking, you're slacking. We'll get more into that. But just first and foremost, I just want to say that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a trainer. I don't have any piece of paper on my wall that says I'm qualified for anything. I'm not an astronaut. I'm just a normal guy with a mic and a camera, and actually an addict in recovery. I struggled with addiction, still struggle with addiction. I just feel like I have it more under control. But I've just experienced a way to lose weight and overcome the addiction to food by using this process. So I've created a framework that worked for me that I want to share with others, and they can implement it and tweak it and use it how works best for them and their lifestyle. This is not medical advice. Before you do any changes to your diet or your exercise or your health, always check with your doctor. Just make sure it's going to work well for you specifically. That being said, let's get into it. So again, like I just mentioned, I'm an addict in recovery. I'm actually over 18 months, completely clean and sober, off of drugs, opiates, amphetamines, marijuana, alcohol, nicotine. I'm even off caffeine. I was on antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, ADHD meds, sleeping meds. I was using. And it was just to make me feel better. It was just to make me not have to deal with my reality. And I also did the same with food and carbs and sugar. I was extremely addicted to sugar. Coming off of drugs was the same sensation and feeling I got coming off of carbs and sugar. It's just a socially acceptable drug, but it controlled me. As soon as I started, I couldn't stop. I got lazy, tired, foggy, depressed. I didn't like the way that carbs and sugar made me feel. Back in 2015, I had first heard of the keto diet and I started messing around with it, and I liked it. It worked well for me. It kept my energy sustained and level, mental clarity, focus, helped with those sugar hunger cravings, but I didn't stick with it long term, but I remembered it. So recently, as I was getting clean off drugs and alcohol, I decided to use the keto diet to get off of carbs, get off of sugar. After about 3 or 4 days of going through the carb sugar withdrawals, which are difficult. If you've ever tried to get off carbs or sugar, it's similar to getting off drugs. Tired, depressed, hungry, grumpy, irritable, just you don't feel good. Some people refer to it as the keto flu. I relate to it more as coming off of food drugs. Once you get past that, it gets better. Energy sustained, mood is good, mental clarity. Well, for the first while, I would do really good, and then I would justify and I would treat myself and I would tap back in. So I would relapse on carbs and sugar, and I would go through these cycles. I'd go all week doing good, and I'd get to the weekend and I'd have some cake. And then I'd binge for a few days, and then I'd be tired, and it was this cycle. Finally, I got tired and said enough's enough, and I have made the change. I'm at the point where I really don't feel temptation for sugar anymore. The pain that I think of, what sugar does to me, is better than that moment of pleasure. I actually just came off of a 135-day streak of keto diet, and I did recently refeed. I did have some carbs and sugar, and it felt amazing. And that's okay. The keto diet isn't necessarily meant to be a lifelong, lifetime, full, all-in-one diet. It is good to physically and emotionally to treat yourself every once in a while. So again, phase 1, we change to the keto diet, what we should eat, switching our diet. This gets rid of that addiction to carbs and sugar. Phase 2, we control when we eat, implement intermittent fasting, leading to OMAD. So now today in phase 3, we're going to be limiting the amount of food we eat. And maybe not in, if you're looking to lose weight. If you're looking to gain weight, then you're actually going to be trying to get a surplus of calories. And we're going to get into that. Basically, you're going to be tracking your calories. And I totally get it. The thought of tracking calories and tracking what you eat sounds miserable. That was my first thought. Once you start doing it, you're going to realize it is not bad. It's actually very, very insightful. And it's easy. It's really, really easy. And as I said at the beginning of this episode, if you're not tracking, you're slacking. And I don't say that to call you out. I've been there before. I've lived it. Whenever I wasn't tracking something, the results were non-existent. I wasn't getting results. There was nothing to track. But the moment that I started tracking, things changed. There's actually been a study on this, that people that track their calories lose significantly more weight than people that don't. Has nothing to do with motivation, has nothing to do with genetics. It's because tracking creates awareness, and awareness creates control. There was actually one large study that showed that people that tracked their calories lost twice as much weight as those that didn't. Twice as much. Same diet, they were just tracking their portions. They lost twice as much. The difference is awareness. You listen to this podcast, you had to write down everything you ate. You would be more conscious of it. You'd start second guessing what you were eating. You're just literally aware of it. It starts to matter when you start tracking. That little handful of nuts, that extra spoonful of peanut butter, that late night bite, it adds up. This is what we talk about when we say in the Vital Life that discipline creates vitality. And tracking is one of the simplest forms of discipline there is. It takes a few seconds, but it gives you total clarity. So in this episode, we're going to break this down simple. How many calories you actually need, how to track it without overcomplicating your life, and how to use this as a tool, not a prison, so you can finally take control of your results. So the very first step in figuring out this process is how many calories do you need? Now, there are all kinds of calculation formulas. There's complicated ways you could do this, but I'm going to give you a very simple starting point. This works for most people. Take your body weight. You're going to multiply it by 12 to 14. This is going to give you a rough estimate of your daily calories to maintain. For example, let's say you weigh 200 pounds. You multiply 200 by 12, which equals 2,400 calories. Multiply it by 14, 2,800. So your window to maintain a 200-pound body is 2,400 to 2,800. Likely, on average, depending on your exercise habits, But that's a rough range. 2,400 to 2,800 is your starting point. Now, from there, again, it depends on your goal. If you want to lose weight, you are going to make your calorie intake lower than that. 2,200 is what you're going to be shooting to eat every day. And that's going to help a 200-pound body lose weight. If you're trying to maintain your weight, to stay where you're at, stay right in that window. And if you want to gain muscle, you're going to go slightly above that, 3,000 calories. You don't need perfection here. You just need a starting point. We're basically a science experiment on ourselves, and we're going to be tracking everything, looking at our results, adjusting. Our body will give us the feedback. So this is where tracking becomes powerful. Once you pick your number, let's say you want to lose weight, 2,200 calories, you're going to stick to it for a couple weeks. And then you're going to evaluate and ask yourself, am I losing weight? Am I staying the same? Am I gaining weight? You want a couple weeks of consistent tracking to gauge how you're doing. And then you adjust. This is the Vital Life in action. Not guessing, not hoping, tracking, observing, adjusting. This is how you take control. So don't stress about getting the perfect calorie number. Get started. Get a starting number and then start tracking. And yes, macros, if you're familiar with those, your fats, your proteins, your carbs, those do matter. Food quality matters, but calories are still the foundation. You can't out-eat your goals no matter how clean you eat. Okay, so now you've got your starting number. We'll use the example 2200. The next step is simple. You've got to track it. And this is way easier than you think. Easiest way to do it is using an app. There are lots of free apps. Something like MyFitnessPal, Chronometer, Lose It. You download it, create a profile. This is a free version that I still use to this day of MyFitnessPal. It'll suggest calories based on the input you put in, but go based off of your number that we chose here today. And then it lets you log everything in seconds. These have all the food choices programmed into them. You search for it, find the food, select it, it calculates and adds your calories. And when I say track, I mean track everything. Your meals, your snacks, your drinks, the condiments, oils, the handful of nuts, that bite you almost didn't count. It all counts. You want to track everything, otherwise this defeats the purpose. Again, try not to overcomplicate it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Starting out, you don't need to weigh everything to every gram. I do at this point now. I have measurements for my 6 ounces of chicken, 5 ounces of hamburger, an ounce of cheese. But just getting started, get into the routine. You're going to dial it in as you go because consistent tracking beats perfect tracking. So just get going. It's not about hitting your calories perfectly. It's about learning. You really start to realize like, wow, this meal was 800 calories? That wasn't worth it. Or wow, this snack is 300 calories. And you start weighing out, if I only get 2,200 calories in a day, is this worth it? I'm still going to be hungry. And you start to see your habits more clearly. This is where change starts. Tracking isn't restriction. Tracking is awareness. Awareness gives you control, and control, that's where your results are going to come from. Now, once you start tracking, there's some things that can go wrong. Let me save you some time and frustration. Here are the biggest mistakes that I've seen. Number one, not tracking everything. Tracking the main meals, but the little snacks you're having here or there you leave out. Or missing the oils, or missing the sauces, the snacks. Those small things add up fast. For a while, I wasn't measuring my cheese, and I was doing a drilled handful and counting it for an ounce, and when I actually measured it, I was like, whoa, I'm actually getting 3 ounces. But I was only counting it as 1. So track everything. Number 2, like I just mentioned, is the guessing portions. This is where a food scale comes in handy, or measuring cups, tablespoons, teaspoons. It's worth it. Once you start figuring out what you eat, it makes it simple. Again, this is over time. Just be aware of it. It's not perfection. Just get started. Number 3 is earning calories. You'll notice on the app that you use, when you do exercise, it'll track your calories burned. It'll subtract that. Well, if you go for a 5-mile run and burn 200 calories, and all of a sudden you decide that you can eat those 200 calories, you really did that 5-mile run for nothing. So be careful with that. And most apps actually overestimate the amount of calories burned. So if your goal is fat loss, just don't rely on that app too heavily. And number 4 is quitting too early. This is a big one. Some people track for 2 or 3 days and then they stop. Tracking works, but only if you do it. Stick with it. And it becomes easy and you start naturally doing it. It's like any habit. Again, this isn't about being perfect. I've said that multiple times. This is about being consistent. This is about effort. Because if you're not tracking, you're slacking. If you really want to lose weight, you need to be in control and you need to know how much you're eating. Okay, so you've got your calorie number, your target. You know how to track. You know what mistakes to avoid. Now the real question is, how do you actually stick with this day after day without feeling miserable? Principle 1, again, goes back to the concept that we talked about in phase 2. Don't eat all day. Intermittent fasting. Stick to your eating window. This is naturally going to control your calories, even without trying as hard. When you're in your eating window, you'll eat your designated amount of calories. When you're in your fasting window, do not eat at all. Anything. you're fasting. Principle 2 is building meals that actually fill you up. Not all calories are created equal. When it comes to fullness, this goes back to phase 1, the keto diet. You want to build meals around protein, healthy fat, and whole foods. You stay full longer, and it's because it's way easier to stay within your calories. So for example, 4 eggs, 2 pieces of bacon, an avocado, and an ounce of goat cheese. One of my go-to meals. Chicken, goat cheese, an avocado, sriracha is another. Broccoli, arugula, good veggies for fiber. Have good quality meals. Principle 3, now this will change everything. Decide ahead of time what you're gonna eat. You need to plan ahead. Don't wait until you're starving to make the decision. You don't want to make decisions while you're hungry, because when you're hungry, you don't make disciplined choices. You make emotional ones. Principle 4, I think it's a good idea to leave a buffer. Another simple trick is, if you're going to have the 2,200 calories, get yourself to 22,000 calories. Don't max out your calories. Leave that little window. And if you end up not needing anything in your fasting window, then you're going to lose weight quicker. But if you just have an insatiable hunger and you need something, you have that 1 to 200 calorie window that you could have a little snack before your fasting window closes. Something can come up. But if you've maxed out your calories and something comes up, that's when you're going to go over. And again, I know this is the theme of the episode. Principle 5, don't try to be perfect. Listen, this is big. So I keep saying it. This is about progression. This is about getting better. This is about learning. This is about growing. You're not going to be perfect every single day. Don't beat yourself up if you're not. You just start over the next day. Every day is a new day. So if you go over, you're within 1 to 200 calories, you're winning. You're paying attention. You know how to adjust it for tomorrow. This is again about consistency over time, not perfection every single day. This is what discipline looks like. It's not supposed to be suffering. It's not punishment. It's structure. It's awareness. It's control. And when you have those things, you can create success without misery. So if you struggled with dieting and losing weight in the past, it's not because you weren't trying hard enough. It's because you didn't have a system. It's because you didn't have a plan. Because you didn't have a framework. If you follow this framework, phase 1, change the food you eat. Change 2, minimize the time that you eat. And phase 3, be aware and track and limit the amount of calories you eat. You're gonna lose weight. I lost over 50 pounds doing this method. I know it works. I know it's possible. If I can do it, anyone can do it. So, takeaway, find your number. Your weight times 12 to 14. Get an app like MyFitnessPal. I use it for free. Start tracking your calories. Track everything for the next 7 days as just a starting point. Reevaluate, reassess, and keep going. But that's really the main thing on this episode today is finding the amount of calories and tracking your food. In the next episode, we're going to recap the full system all together in one episode. If you found any value in this, appreciate if you'd like it. Make sure you follow so you can stay tuned with future episodes. And if you know someone that could benefit from this, share it. We're building a community of like-minded, like-hearted people. But that's really all I've got for you. It's time to take control. Because it's feeding time. We'll see you on the next one. One love.